Hey there friends, I'm Andrew, and today we're going to be redoing a video that I did about a year ago, decontaminating liquid cultures. I tried to watch the video this morning. Oh, the cringe. I mean, the music was awful, the worst I've ever heard. I don't know what I was thinking. Nonetheless, we're going to redo it, and there's going to be no music, I promise. So we're going to be using malt extract agar today, and we're also using, this is questionable, we're also going to be using Piopini liquid culture from a year ago. It's been in my fridge for over a year. I don't know if it's going to work, but so this is going to be two experiments. Nonetheless, the practice is the same. Okay, we're going to start by labeling our cultures here. I'm going to do 3. So I'm going to use Piopini mouth 1, Piopini mouth 2, and then Piopini floor. We had a YouTube commenter recommend that we try doing this with the floor contaminants. It might be a little bit more difficult with organisms that like MEA better, or they're just better opponents than mouth bacteria. We'll see. We also want the date. Here we go. We're all labeled. Now let's get our cultures. So here's our Piopini. Let's see. I'm not even sure this is going to work.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm flame sterilizing the needle tip to help mitigate contamination. Now typically when I'm inoculating a plate, I'll dispense a few drops, typically near the label. That way, because it's going to be most concentrated and it's going to be really dense, and you don't want the words to confuse you when you go to isolate and look for colonies that form.
Okay, so here is the interesting part. I'll show you guys this in a minute. First, we're going to start off with some sterile swabs. Okay, I've got one sterile swab. I'm going to swab the floor. Okay. And now I'm going to dive in here. So where are we? Can you see here? Cover that, throw it away, and we can move that off to the side. Now we have new swab. This is going in my mouth. Back here. One. And 2. I used the same swab, thinking maybe there'll be less bacteria on the second swab than the first. That sounds logical to me. So that way we may get better results. I'm not sure though. We'll see. All right, now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of why this all works, and it's called isolation. So we're going to be streaking for isolation, and we use you can't see that, can you? It's a small loop. There we go, that's better. A small loop. Sterilizing it. See, until it turns red hot. Then we let it cool. Go to our culture, Piopini 2.
Okay, so now if you look at the image in the far right corner, You'll see the red. That's what we just did. We took the swab and we streaked all the way across. And now what I'm doing here is I'm going, following the pattern of the orange, sterilizing the loop, and then following the pattern of the yellow.
Okay, and I'm going to show you a close-up of exactly what I'm doing here. That way, it's better. You can emulate it better. If you don't have a hood, man, there's some options you can look out there on YouTube of how to do sterile culture without a hood. You've heard some people use ozone in a glove box.
Now, the whole point of this technique is to isolate the organisms and get them on their own so that they can form their own colony.
Okay, big thing when you're streaking for isolation, it's very important that you cover as much of the plate as possible. Okay, now we are going to seal the plates up. Actually, let me hold this in front. That's how I labeled it. That might come in handy. Right, so here's an image. We may be able to use that later. Or if I just hold it here, I'll figure out some way to show you guys. This is really it. Now I'm going to be using paraffin to seal the plates. And why do we use paraffin? We use paraffin because it's perfect. Right? As you can see, it's stretchy. And we want to make sure that no contaminants other than the contaminants that are already here get inside this plate. And that's why we do this, right? I find that it works really well. If you get a tool and you sort of fold the parafilm inside the lid, it holds. It works really well. Alright, so we're going to do that. All three of our cultures. Now I'm going to take the plates that I just did and I'm going to move them to an incubator for a few days. And once I start seeing isolation, we'll come back for the second part of this video. In the comments, let me know, what do you think? Is this video better without the music? Are you going to try this on your own? Do you think the POPD will grow? It's been a year, right? So there's two things here. Will there be contamination? 100%. We're going to have growth. Will it be the POPD? I have no idea. So I should do a control.
So I really like this clip as a synopsis, an overview of what we did. We first label. Now we're going to inoculate. That's step one. We're going to swab, spread it out. Now we're going to do our first streak. I flipped it. I flipped the isolation loop over. Second streak, and then third streak.
So as you can see, this is there are a lot of big no-nos here, right? There's distractions, there's cameras inside of my hood, there's cameras everywhere. Ultimately, when you do this, you want as little or as few distractions as possible, and streak out as many plates as you have, because most likely this is not going to work. It is very hard to clean up a dirty culture. In most cases, if that happens, you throw it away. And the only time you really want to do this is if you have a culture or strain, or there's a situation, I know it happens, where you're like, you think, I don't want to let this go. I'm going to do all I can to rescue this. And it is possible to rescue. But it's hard. It's tough, takes some work, and we're going to try to do it today with just 2 plates. So thank you for watching this first part remastered, and we'll see you in the next one.